All right. So let's start then. So today's topics, as I mentioned, are quite varied, from photo, video retrieval and storage to online shopping, online presence, and streaming video services. So the two of these topics, photo, video, and streaming, are kind of a lighter topics, in my opinion. More serious topic is online presence and online shopping, banking, and security around it. So because of that, I will start to address that so that we can spend enough time on that. We don't need that much time for streaming services and photo videos. So I'll dedicate more time on these two topics. So meanwhile, to gain some insights, while I'm addressing online presence and online shopping and banking, if you have any questions about your photo video storage retrieval or streaming services such as Amazon or Netflix or any other services, or the streaming devices such as Roku, Apple TV, you can start putting in chat, and so that they can collate that, and then we can address better in that when that segment comes in. So I'm sure all of you have one or other concern about doing your activities online, right? You're always probably worried how to deal with things. You are not sure whether site you are visiting is a legitimate site, whether you will be scammed or what, and everyone goes through that. And even I am not exception to that. I have faced at least 2 times in last 3-4 years attempts to steal money. I was able to fend it quickly because I was alert, and in one case I was proactive, so it didn't matter. So we'll address these kind of events. How can it affect you? And it has a very serious potential financial loss and identity theft impact also. And at your stage in life, it's devastating. It's actually deeply impacting, and it's hard to recover because you want to enjoy life calm and quiet, and here you don't want to face something like this. So there are certain rules and regulations. I suggest, if you have a notebook, have it ready, if you want to write down. If not possible, that's okay. I can later on look at the video, write down the whole steps, and send a quarterly document to you guys, or you can watch the video again. Okay, so first we'll address online safety. Now, online safety is when you are doing either shopping through your mobile phone or from laptop mainly, right? So the very first thing that I would like to address on online safety is the passwords. If you can, without revealing your passwords, saying, do you use any tools for password, or do you have a diary that you maintain, or maybe an online document? You can start pasting in the chat what medium you use. I don't need details. I just need something. I use diary, I use notepad, whatever it is. I'm not judging you. I just need to get some sort of idea. But while you do that, thing I would recommend is about password is you can use great tools that are available to create, store, and automatically remember highly secure passwords. I in older time, like about like 3-4 years, up to 3-4 years ago, I used to have my own personal algorithm to come up with passwords, and I used to store in a Google sheet the site, and without revealing the password, I would write something that will tell me that this is the password.
Thank you.
So because of that, it was not that secure. Only I could remember, what if somebody could crack my algorithm, then it would put everything at risk. So after like couple of years ago, I invested in a tool called 1Password, and if possible, I can share here my link. the tool I'm using. There are quite a different tools, but I'll show the site and I'll share the screen so that you will visually remember. Okay, let me know if you can see it. Just somebody raise the thumb and I will know you can see it. So this is the site I use, 1Password. It creates and manages your passwords for you. And it has a very sophisticated algorithm where it stores all your passwords in a Chrome browser or a web browser also, and it without revealing the password, it can autofill it for you. So basically, you don't have to remember a password yourself every time when you visit a site. Right? Can you mute, please? Whoever just is unmuted. So I use this site. I have this plan for families where I pay like $5 a month, and typically I pay once a year. And I think there's a discount or something for that. And you can have it family of 5 use the same password software, not password. Okay. So the benefit of that is, for example, if you are seeing the browser, I have a browser extension, and if you need help, I can help it separately how to add an extension to your Chrome browser. But it looks like this, and there is a master password and all that. But once you get all that and you put that master password, it will prompt you, it will generate a password for you for the site, etc., etc. And when you go to the site, when they say username and password, you can simply pop this. It knows what site you're on, and it will say autofill. Once you click the autofill button, it will prompt, it will fill it automatically for you, and you don't have to remember that password. It also, by the way, it just doesn't stop here. It also says if you have reused the password anywhere, which is not a good sign, right? If you use a typical your granddaughter or grandson's name and 1 2 3 4, it's pretty easy to understand, and is it easy to crack. So you should not use something like that. But ideally, this one solution can help you. There are other solutions available for free, which is called 1Pass. One of my 1Password, and sorry, not LastPass. So LastPass is, I think, free. LastPass. You can use a free version also, but again, like free for yourself probably. But again, you can have a premium version for your family, etc., etc. Both are equally good. I cannot say this is not, this is better or that is better. Both are good, and they work on a similar basis. They will remember your passwords. They will generate a cryptic password for you, and you can autofill the passwords. Reason to use online is really you cannot remember humanly a password. You'll have to write down on some diary. You'll have to carry the diary with you. Always open up the diary, scramble when you're really in a hurry sometimes. And when you're outside, you're at loss basically, because you're at somebody's place and you forgot the diary. Then there is a big problem. Then otherwise you'll have to store it in Google Doc or Google something. But it's the same, but just doing electronically. With this, it can come with you. I also have the same app of 1Password on my phone, so it works on my phone apps also and 1Password. Extremely secure, and it creates a cryptic master password, and several other ways it protects itself from being hacked. So that's one suggestion I would highly recommend. And if somebody needs like a specialized help, maybe I can create a small video how to do that later on. So far clear about using tools rather than somebody thumbs up, I can see. Okay, good, excellent. So using tools will relieve you from the stress of remembering passwords and maintaining secure passwords, because you have heard a few years ago like Equifax breach, which affected 143 or some million people in US. All of us, our passwords were basically stolen at that time. You can remember what havoc can that create if all of your passwords were stolen. Now they have access to all of what you do online, right? So 1Password also monitors credit password hacks, and it will tell you that there is a breach on so and so site. Please change your password right away. So it helps you to keep yourself very, very safe. Now let's address another point in creating passwords and creating logins itself. How many of you, again, I can't see everyone, but whatever visual window is in front of me, I'll tell you who is. I have Monatai, Alkatai, Sulabha, Ramkrishna, Rohini, Sarita in front of me. Any one of you have heard of something called two-factor authentication for login process? Somebody has, yeah, somebody has raised a thumb. Mona Vasudev says yes. So 2 out of probably 8 people, 2, 3. So probably somebody in your house is little bit tech savvy or alert, and they have set up for you, or you are alert. Kudos to you in any case. But if you are not aware, it is another step of security for you to log in. Let's say you have a Gmail account, Yahoo account, whatever. You go there, you put your username, password, and you log in. That used to be the old world, like about 20 years ago. If that gets hacked, you are done. If that you try to log in from another device, it still would allow you to do that, right? With two-factor authentication, it will ask you to perform another step to authenticate. And there are different ways. One way is that particular site will send a message, text message to you on your mobile with a 6-digit number, and you put that number and it will authenticate you. Another way is there is something called a Google Authenticator app, which looks like this. If you can see in my here, looks like this. It generates a 6-digit number constantly, and you can add your site to the authenticator, and it will keep generating 6-number digit every minute. And you can look at that particular site's login and type that number. So that's another way of doing it. And many times I use the simple text messaging way, where it says site knows my phone number, so it says we'll send a text message to this number. I say send it, I get it, I type it, and I go in. That way it is a little bit cumbersome, but it always tells me that I'm safe. And little incident happened a few weeks ago. We were selling something on FB Market, and one of the potential buyer told my wife saying, oh yeah, I'm interested in this particular thing. Can I send you a Google code? My wife asked me, and I was deep into something doing. I said, yeah, do it. I didn't pay attention. And she got a code, and she actually pinged that code to that person on FB Messenger. And after 10 minutes, my light bulb went. I came running and said, what did you do? He said, I sent her a code. And then I said, oh man, that was the code to crack her Gmail ID, right? That was the code. But luckily I had a two-factor authentication, which would send a request to her phone, and that will basically thwart that effort of that hacker. But this is like little things can happen from selling something, like a garage sale on Facebook Market, can land you in also trouble, because that hacker could have got access to her Gmail, probably some sensitive Google Docs, and from there, what can happen, right? If you're storing on the Google Doc. So that's why the two-factor authentication, will save you from a lot of trouble later on. So far clear? So if you have not done two-factor authentication, again, I'll send links to do that. It's everywhere available. But if not, on all your sites, especially the financial sites, your primary email site, your bank, you have to put two-factor authentication. And I would say go extra length to prompt that every time you log into that site. It might feel a little, why I'm doing the same thing again, but do it, because that will save you from a lot of trouble. All right. So third topic is about emails and texts. The one I also similarly addressed was the texting from Facebook Messenger, but it is the text that you get on your mobile or emails that you get. All of you have probably seen and heard stories of Nigerian king giving you inheritance, right? I see already some people smiling. But a little that you might know that there are still people falling for that scam. It's unbelievable, but people fall for that scam. Okay? There are people who fall for work from home scam, Nigerian scam, lottery scam, whatever, right? Some inheritance scam. So bottom line for email and such kind of text is, if it sounds too good to be true, avoid it. You will be better ignoring it than going for it, because they track when you open an email also. So once you open an email also, they can put some malware on your PC also, and you can land in trouble, because then they record all your keystrokes, right? And then they record your passwords. So you can land in big trouble by just sometimes clicking on that thing also. If your PC security is not tight, this can happen. That's why any email suspicious or any text that is suspicious, don't take it. Similar thing can happen on actually phone call. You might get a phone call and the guy on the other side can lure you in by just keeping you on the phone and talk you into it. Sometimes by authoritative talk, sometimes by making you some tempting offer, whatever. One of my ex-colleague fell for this kind of scam, where he was new in this country, fresh on H1B, and the guy pretended to be an IRS officer, and he literally threatened him to not to disconnect the phone. He kept him on phone and make him pay him, you won't believe the amount, $6,000 through wire transfers from Western Union. And he did that transfer. Unbelievably, he did the transfer. So these are the things can happen to anyone, even to the smartest people in the world, that can happen. So if anything that is suspicious, don't fall for it. IRS, government, or such authorities will never call you on your phone. They will never threaten you like this, or or police also, that I'm sending you cops at your door. Let them send it. Take the chance, saying, yeah, most welcome, come to my home, and then you call 911 saying this is what is happening. So bottom line is, be always extra vigilant on all these things. People are out there to cheat anyone and all. Okay, so similar thing we just talked at links in the email. Sometimes links in the email can be legitimately looking like you have an account, let's say Bank of America, PNC Bank, whatever, right? And you get an email saying something in your account needs update or something. Typically, you tend to click on it and log in. I have made a practice not to click on any such email. If I get an email from my bank saying, oh, there is a message to you in the message center, right? If you have a brokerage account, your bank, they typically send you a message saying there is a message in the message. I go to that site, I log in, I go to the message center and read there. And I simply archive that mail. Okay, fine, thank you. I'm not looking into it. I actually go to the site and log in and see if there is something there. Typically, Gmail-like tools are prompt to tell you that there is a suspicious thing here. But if they're not, then you can be safe and avoid that from getting caught in that. So that's about password, then secure access by two-factor authentication, and emails and text, anything suspicious, and links in the email. The fifth topic that I want to say is probably you are already doing, but when you share something on social media, share with care. What I always say, share with ultimate care. Do not share too much personal stuff, ever, actually. Do not declare your vacations. Do not declare your plans. If you want to talk about what you're going or something, do that after you are done the vacation. You're back home, right? If you are going to visit your grandkids, and don't declare that. Go there, enjoy time, come back, and then put maybe a couple of pictures if you want to put. I would again advise against putting kids photos and all that, but if you really want to share it within close friends, do that after the fact, not before the fact. There have been robberies and there have been moving trucks pretending to clear your house because somebody posted on social media that I'm going to vacation for 3 weeks, and only to come back and say the house is completely empty. So don't do that. I mean, people are very nasty out there and they can do whatever. Right? Another small thing that you can try to also limit your online tracking is something called incognito window in your browser. Anyone aware of what is incognito window of browser? Yes, I see 1 or 2 hands up, which is a good sign. Incognito window is where Google is not tracking you. Okay, and that is in your browser window. I can probably quickly share that where it is. Right here. So let's quickly see. If you can see this old window in the file, you can see new incognito window here. When you do that, it tells you what happens. Your browsing history is not stored, cookies not stored, information, etc., etc. Right? Third-party cookies are not stored. So if you don't want to be tracked, go this route, incognito, or install another browser called DuckDuckGo. Here's the site, and they have a good browser. It's completely privacy built, like this. A lot of my friends use it. Even you can add this to Chrome so that that default search engine becomes this than Google. Google surprisingly tracks you too much. Beyond your imagination, it tracks you, and it sells the data to third party for you to be again marketed. So if you don't want that, please do this. So that was all about online presence and online safety. If you have any questions, I can later on address. You can keep posting here. It's a very vast topic, so I cannot cover everything, but I just chose like 5 or 6 very important topic that you can address right away. Right. So I will move on to the second segment. Let me just quickly see before that, anybody has typed anything chat that is around here that is important. Somebody says Excel file, somebody uses diary. Jagdish Vasudev, you use diary? Okay, don't use diary. Use something like 1Password. Somebody uses Excel file, don't use Excel file, please. Move on to good tools. Meena, iPhone use karte. Okay, theek hai. But again, that has a limit because you will be always struggling to find your password. Photos of spreadsheet, not a good idea. All right. Fine, fantastic. So let's move on to the next topic, which is online banking, online shopping, and the tips that you should do or you should not do. The very first step, I'll again share screen and show the very first step that you can always make a habit of looking at when you type anything and you go to any site is to look at this lock. This lock tells you that site is secure over here. And if you really are curious, just click here. It will tell you that connection is secure. Okay, simple idea that will help you to do that. Many times these browsers are now smart. If you try to go somewhere which is not secure, there'll be something red here, something warning also here. It will try to prevent you from going to that potentially malicious site. If you just still want to go, it will let you go, but many times they try to stop you from that particular site. So that lock and the information clicking on lock will tell you a lot about site. Okay, doing shopping or shopping particularly, when you do shopping on online sites, always pay by credit card. Always. Never use debit card, ever, because debit card is, money is gone. Once you click, money is gone already. And your bank may protect you from that, but typically credit cards are more smarter and more aggressive in protecting you from malicious things happening to you. Right. So always that. There are some still your liabilities are there, like $50 or some credit cards up to higher $500 liability, but it is still much safer because you can get your, let's say you shop something for $2,000 and credit cards liability clause is 500, at least you saved $1,500, right? If something goes wrong. With debit card, chances are very thin to get that money back. In the same line, I would say have your favorite 4 or 5 shoppers where you shop everything. Like mine is Amazon. I almost exclusively shop on Amazon, everything, almost everything, for the peace of mind and the safety that they provide, and they stand behind me if something goes wrong. So that's the reason I choose Amazon. If you have other sites such as Wayfair is also similar, good site. Wayfair, you might have heard about it. It's an excellent site. But such sites will provide you peace of mind, because they stand behind customers. And the reason I mentioned favorite sellers also, that all of these sellers um, ask you or whether you want to store your credit card with them. Wayfair or Amazon like sellers are very secure, so I do store my credit card with them, so that I don't want to constantly put that again and again. But if you are not, then you might well just put that credit card every time, right? This site give me confidence that my credit card is safe with them. For all other sites, I try not to store. The sites that I infrequently buy from, I don't trust them, and I don't store my credit card. If you are still worried about that, then another way to secure yourself is use PayPal account. What PayPal allows you to store credit card on PayPal site and make that as your primary payment source. And wherever you say pay by PayPal, just go by PayPal. It allows you to, once you click, it says login to PayPal, and PayPal seamlessly, without giving away your credit card, allows you to charge. So the site never gets your credit card. So your credit card is only with PayPal. Just so much minimized exposure to your credit card, right? Another small thing that you can do is have one dedicated credit card for online shopping. Don't use like 5-6 different cards that you have maybe for different shopping. That way you can minimize your again exposure. If something happens, only one credit card will get hit, and have that credit card from a strong company which stands behind you for any fraudulent activity, without holding you responsible for that, such as Chase, Capital One, Bank of America. All these are good sites, and if they stand behind you, by all means do that. Then link that to PayPal. Wherever PayPal is there, pay by PayPal, and then you are reducing your risk in that way. But again and again, I'm telling you, never pay by debit card. Never, please. In fact, on outside shopping also, in shops also, pay by credit card, because then you can claim disservice, or that service that you didn't get well, product that you shopped wasn't well made, you are unhappy with that, you can go to your credit card and claim that I'm unhappy, and your credit card company will fight for that for you. With debit card, your primary bank is not going to fight for that. Okay, so that's the reason to use credit card, but there are risks. So that these are the ways you can mitigate the risk by using only one card for all, having a good card company behind you, maybe having that card linked to PayPal. Use PayPal so that you can drastically minimize your exposure. I think it's not required to say that, but I would say that again: never wire money. If some site says, or someone says wire me money, be extremely careful. Only place I would go for wiring of money is when I'm refinancing or something like that, and that one of that mortgage company is not accepting banker's check or any other activities, are only accepting wire. It happened to me. That's why I'm mentioning. I made extra inquiry into that company saying, why do you make me wire money? And I made extra inquiry into saying that company asking was legit by calling them, and then I made sure that wiring money is fine. Amount was not big, but still they wanted to pay for those charges of $100-$200 something by wiring me money to them. So that's very rare nowadays. Nowadays you are not required to wire money. Typically, asking to wire money is a telltale sign of a fraud, because once wired, you lose control of it, right? So try not to wire as much as possible. Another item on this list is do not trust deals on social media sites. These are too good to be true. I have heard stories that many Chinese companies, bogus companies, are fronting the deals to sell you a product on social media that looks too good to be true, and too cheap. People think, oh, it's just $10, but this is such a cute product, I'll buy it. And many times then they don't get a product at all, or they get something that they didn't ask for. Some stupid toy or something is being sent to you, which is worth maybe $1, and you paid $10, and there is no one to fight for, and it's not even worth sometimes to fight for $10. So you just shrug and move on. But imagine they scam to the million people, how much money they make, right? So don't fall for social media scams. If you find a site that is offering something, probably the site, maybe then go to the site and verify that again, whether they're offering a deal. Again, I have bought from Facebook markets, but I knew those sites legitimately. Other than that, I never click on anything that I don't know. I never click. Do not give too much information. Next point. Only for shopping, only required information is your name, your address, and your maybe last four digits of SSN and credit card number. Beyond that, typically nothing is asked. Nobody asks you for driving license ever, probably. If somebody is asking for full social security, stay away. Stay away from full social security asking sites. I have rejected many times to mortgage company inquiry, right? When you refi, they said, nope, I'm not giving you full social security, work without it. And they said, okay to it, right? So as far as possible, resist giving full social security number or full driving license. There are other ways. I'll quickly do a little bit digress, but Equifax gives you a mobile app, which is called Lock and Alert. I'll show you the screen, how it looks. It says, okay, if you can see my mobile, this is the Equifax Lock and Alert app. It's free to download. What it does is it will lock your credit inquiry. It will lock your credit inquiry. So even if I give my social security to someone, and if they try to hack by opening a fictitious account on my name, my credit history is locked. Nobody can open anything new on my name. And when I really want something, like let's say I'm buying a car, I need a loan, and that company wants to run my credit history, within one swipe, I can unlock and say, run it now. Are you done? Lock it. So that way, I can give away my social security without any fear. Literally, I give away. Sometimes if somebody says, I need your social security for this new so-and-so application, store card or whatever, right? Some credit, I openly give it, saying, okay, just tell me when you are running the credit score. And they say, okay, I'm running now. I unlock it and say, are you done? You're done. Lock it back. Boom, I'm out. And I'm literally worry-free giving away my social security because of that, or also worry-free from breaches such as Equifax. If somebody steals social security from some third-party site, I'm still worry-free because my credit is locked. When Equifax is locked, nobody can open an account. Okay. So a little bit digression, but I think that was an important topic that you can look into. Shopping. When you do shopping, try to do shopping mainly from your home or a trusted residence where you are, your relatives or something, because you will tend to do shopping when you are connected to online, right, with some Wi-Fi connection. You will make sure that your home is secure and your maybe residents where you go, your relatives are secure. But what if you get an urge to shop something while you're sitting in a mall? You might be connected to that Wi-Fi network unknowingly because you connected last time and now it is automatically connecting. Do not shop from a mall or airport. Those are not at all secure networks. Or same with coffee shops, Starbucks or something, restaurants. Do not shop from these places. Always hold the urge to shop outside, actually, unless it's super urgent, you have to buy something, then maybe do not connect to any Wi-Fi. buying directly from the actual cell network is much better than connecting to a Wi-Fi. Hacking your cellular network is extremely difficult than hacking a Wi-Fi connection that you're connected to, right? Because those are unsecured. So always try to shop from home, relatives, or without Wi-Fi. I would still urge to shop from home. Okay, so far so good. We addressed how to spot fictitious websites. Then we said always pay on credit card, align one credit card to your shopping if possible to you, and again align that card to PayPal so that your exposure is minimized. When you are again shop from home, shop from trusted sites. When in doubt, do not shop from that site. Do a research on that site and then only buy. Never wire anybody money. Do not trust blindly social media deals, and do not click links from unknown people or suspicious looking links from known people, such as, hey Suhas, I'm stuck at England and I've been robbed. I need immediately $5,000. I'll return you when I'm back to US. Nope, Prashant is not in US. Don't fall for it. We have already seen this. This used to be 15-20-year-old trend. It has probably stopped, but don't fall for something like that. Then careful when shopping from search engine. When you Google something for product, you see a bunch of links, and most of the top links are from trusted site, but somebody can lurk in with a fictitious site which looks legitimate to you.
Even you should listen.
Okay,
it's good.
Please mute. Okay, I'm muting. Okay,
Everyone, please mute.
I did mute that person.
You did, thank you.
Yeah. So we were at saying that search engine can also pose a risk, because if you unknowingly click on unknown site, because it shows you that so and so product and product links, right? But underneath that there is actual website link, website information. We tend to click the link of the product that we're searching without looking at the link below of the site. So look at the site where you are clicking, right? Contrary to the belief, shopping from your phone and tablet is much safer. Actually, it's much safer because most of the sellers that you shop from have their own dedicated app, such as Amazon, right, has an app. Walmart has an app. Wayfair has their own dedicated app, which is extremely secure. Extremely secure. And I every day shop on Amazon through my phone without having any fear, right? Lately, I've been seeing the scams, people trying to call me saying, if you have done so and so purchase on Amazon, please call us. Amazon doesn't do that. There are scammers who are trying to get your credit card by pretending to be a call from Amazon, right? So Amazon again will not call you for any purchase. They'll send you an email saying there is a problem with your purchase, blah blah blah, etc. They don't call you. So that is just like that car service warranty scam that is going on currently. So but by all means, feel free to use apps of the reputed shoppers. Shopping directly by clicking browser on mobile, again the same care you need to take that you take for actual laptop. All of the above that we discussed earlier. Be extremely careful about that. When in doubt, don't shop. Ask someone. They say, I think this is doubtful. Should I? Ask your tech savvy relatives, saying, this is what I'm seeing. Should I? Hold on the urge to go ahead, to not to miss an excellent offer. That excellent offer can be just a bait, right? Hold that on. But like Wayfair, Amazon is giving you good offer from their native apps that you are on the phone. That's legitimate again. So know the difference and act accordingly. Last but not the least, always check your credit card bills, because sometimes you might buy something, right? You think you're buying it one time, but if that company has a subscription for it, which you are not aware by, you're not reading, let's say, carefully, and it's a subscription, not one-time buy, for let's say $4.99, that small amount can sneak into your credit card bill and just go like that without knowing. because we may not notice such small amount. We may be busy sometimes, and you might pay, quickly, and you might keep on paying for that company. So even if a legitimate company can have a little bit confusing offers, and you might end up paying continuous basis. So always check your bills. Make sure you are not paying something that you are not intended to pay. All right. So these were two major important topics. I'll address quick questions that are here. Can you explain incognito Windows setup? There is nothing to set up. It's in your browser. Every browser has in the file menu. If you click on file menu, it says open incognito. There's nothing to set up. Okay.
The first question was from Rajini. Can I connect iPhone and MacBook?
Yeah, of course. But connect means what, though? But that's and that might go into a little different route, Alkatai. Little more. It might warrant a discussion.
Okay, so Rajni, sorry, we cannot have that discussion.
I can probably address that if Rajni wants to email me separately, or maybe call also one day.
Okay.
I'll be happy to answer that, because I don't want. I have limited time. I need to keep question and answer.
And then somebody has a question. What is streaming?
Yeah, I want to address that also, right?
Yeah.
So before that, I want to address one quick question here. If somebody says, I'm buying home, I'll have to wire money to assign to title company, any risk? There is no risk, because I just did the same thing. But I called that company actually and saying, is there any way that you can do? And they said, no, we only take wire. And I said, okay, then fine. Then I made sure all the addresses are perfectly verified, double, triple checked, because once it's wired and if it is gone to wrong hands, it's tough to get back, right? So make sure you get all the addresses of that company, names and address, department, whatever they need you to wire to, are extremely clear to you. Write it down, read it back to them, and make sure, and then only wire it. Okay. Quick answer to the question about cookie. Cookie is a piece of small file, probably 1 kilobyte file, which is placed by sites on your computers and your mobile phones. It is used to track you, not in a bad way every time, but to track you necessarily, saying if you visit the same site again, they can craft offers to you based on the cookie that they have sent. And the cookie holds information about where you clicked on the site, what products you viewed, etc., etc. So if you are revisiting that site, it can tailor the experience for you. It can be used for good purposes. It can be used for tracking purposes also, and selling your information to third-party marketers. And that's where that topic of DuckDuckGo that I explained, the browser, it blocks all the tracking that Google does and sells to third parties. When you do something and using Google account or Chrome, it's free because Google tracks. Not necessarily bad, but still your information is sold. Yeah. As I always say, on the free sites such as all social media which are free, Facebook, Instagram, and all that, Google, using Google services, you are the product. I always say, because you get free, you are the product for Google. Your information is being sold to others, right? And I've dealt that also in my professional way also.
Prashant, there's a question: is 2GOs safe to use?
2GOs, I have not heard about what is 2GOs. So I'll have to research.
You buy tickets or make payment to or something. TUGOZ.
2GOs, I've actually not really well versed with that side. I can research and tell you back.
Okay.
If you can note down, if you can note down these
I will.
follow-up questions.
Email.
Yeah, you and me can check later on, and then I can send you an email. Then Nanda can add that into as a snippet in your follow-up email.
Yeah, Mr. Prashant, they don't accept PayPal at every shop.
Yes, I agree, and that's where I said wherever they accept, go by PayPal.
Is Zelle reliable?
Zelle is also reliable, but Zelle is mainly to send money to you and me, right?
Also between persons.
Mainly.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And they want to know, Ashwini wants to know which is a good browser to use.
Chrome is good. Safari is good if you're on Mac. Chrome is good. A decent browser. It has blocked.
How about Microsoft Edge?
Edge is underneath still Chrome. This is based on Chromium. So it is still good.
Good. Okay. Thank
It
you.
is still good. Yeah. Yeah. So browser will do up to a certain part, but you will have to take extra care when you actually visit. Always be vigilant. That's the like one-liner advice I always tell people. Always be careful. Okay.
And here's a question.
Thank you.
So,
Sure.
Prashant, a question is somebody's attending a dance performance on Vimeo on demand, and can he save it and watch it later?
Okay, we can address that later.
Okay.
So let's move on to photo, video, and streaming. A smaller topic that I kept towards the end. It just I just wanted to see how you guys do it and share what I know around it. So I'll tell you the top 3-4 photo storage services that are available online, and I would advise all of you to use cloud-based services than actually storing into your local hard drive or attached hard drive to your computer, because attached hard drive and your computer are susceptible to get crashed. It's a mechanical device. It can crash anytime and you can lose all your photos. Unbelievable, but the pain that it will cause you is unbelievable. Actually, I can't tell you. I met some folks who have lost photos by even constantly telling to store it online. Didn't listen to me, and one day said, "Oh, what should I do? My hard disk crashed." I said, "No, you're on your own. I'm not a hard disk expert, so I can't help you really." I said there are companies, and I pointed that person to some companies that are into hard disk restoration and all that. But again, I said chances are you have lost probably 50% of your content. So use online services, and top 3 or 4 in my mind are Google Photos, Amazon Photos. If you are on iPhone, the iCloud Photos. And there used to be a service, freestanding service called Flickr. That is now part of Samsung. So if you are using Samsung phone, it is probably built into your phone. Flickr, Flickr is the spelling. So look up that for Samsung users. The main thing I would tell about, you can choose any service, by the way, that you like. Okay, almost all are same. All are paid, and you can find a deal whichever you feel right. I use iCloud Photos, which is I paid $10 for 2 terabytes of storage for total iCloud for my family. So four of us store. We are all Mac people, so that's when I went to the iCloud route. So all of us use iPhone. All of us are on Mac. So that's when I decided to buy iCloud service for $10 a month for 2 terabytes of storage. It's stored, and I can store all my computer documents, then my contacts, my emails, my messages, my photos, videos, everything on iCloud. Similarly, if you are an Android phone user, you can go for Google services, which are equally good. I used to use Google Photos, I still use up till now, but Google Photos free offer is ending next month. So next month onwards, Google Photos storage will be going towards your quota of Gmail if you're using Gmail account, 15 GB, and that will go like that. Because if you have turned on the auto backup from your phone, with the today's frenzy of taking photos, it will be done in maybe a few months, right? So either you go to the Google paid version, just like iCloud, I think $10 a month for terabytes or something, or turn off that auto upload photos from Google Photos to from your phone to Google Photos, and then you can choose another site which will take that photos and upload automatically for you. But make sure, if you're not intending to use Google Photos as your backup, turn off that auto upload come next month. I think it is up to June 30th, free, unlimited, but after June 30th it's going away. Amazon Photos is also available to free to all Prime users, but I tried that and I never liked that interface, because it's not about only storing my photos online, it's about retrieving also. When I go online for Google Photos, it allows me to nicely create albums. Same with iCloud and even Flickr also. Amazon Photos was not that friendly, at least when I tried it 2 years ago. I'm still willing to try, but there's a little bit inertia because everything I have is on iCloud now. So I don't want to try something else. But again, it's a good service, free. I think it's free for Prime users. So check it out. Interface may not be that good. So when you try to look back your photos through album, you might feel little not so good experience. Okay. Third element, which is probably little less important, but still probably for you guys, because you joined the digital era at your later age compared to me, and me later compared to my kids, right? It's about when we are born ultimately. And because of that, because of when we are born, we have those printed photos of our era. When we used to, click on films, take it to the studio and get it printed, and those prints are lying at home. So if you are wondering what to do with that, there are services available for you to convert that into digital photos. There are different ways you can do it. You can do it yourself. And there are apps available from Google called PhotoScan. Google PhotoScan will, if you put the photo down and hold the camera like this, it will recognize that you're taking a snap of a photo, and then it will cut out the other background of it and create the only photo image for you. Microsoft also has a similar app for Microsoft Lens, which allows you to take photos of documents. Let's say you have old letters of somebody. When people used to write letters, and people have saved them as a memory, and now they are, getting affected by weather conditions, the age of that paper and all that, right? If you want to digitize that, something like this can be helpful, because it knows that you're scanning a document from the option, and it takes a nice photo of the document, and then you can digitize that photo and keep as a memory. If you're not up to that, then you can use services such as, if you're, let's say, 2000 photos from your 20s to your 40s, 50s, and then you join the digital bandwagon, and you just don't have energy now to scan 2000 photos, then Costco probably helps you to do that. Or services like scanmyphotos.com will take your bunch of photos and scan it for you, give it to you, and some digital media, their site to download. So always use that kind of service if you have too many photos. But you can actually digitize all your old documents or photos very easily nowadays. It's super easy to do that, and actually save it for better, or pass on to future generations. If you really want to care for your passing on traditions and all that, this is a great way to do that, so that your next generations will have a nice memory, right? Let's move on to streaming services. So I hope all of you have at least 2 or 3 streaming services by now. Thumbs up. 2 or 3 services using Prime, Netflix, right? All of us. So what I wanted to quickly, because that's a little lighter topic. What I wanted to address is how many people know that most of the cell phone companies are covering your Netflix bill. Anybody aware of that? T-Mobile covers for Netflix bill, AT&T covers for Netflix bill, or some other. Most of the companies cover at least one streaming media bill for you, up to maybe $10 or something. If you're not aware, call. Yeah, Verizon does that. Call your company and look for the deal and enjoy that free service, whichever the channel is. Most of the times it is Netflix. T-Mobile started it. Oh, somebody needs to unmute.
Yeah, say that again, Chand.
Yeah, I'm getting echo from you, Vijay, so I'll mute it now. So T-Mobile started it to give free services, saying Netflix on us, and I'm using that for last maybe 4 years free from them. If Netflix raises the price from 10 to 12, that $2 come to my way, but at least the $10 is covered by T-Mobile. Verizon also followed the suit, and I think AT&T also does the same. In terms of streaming, you have many options nowadays and many ways to consume it. The top 4 or 5 that come to my mind is Roku, which I use extensively. Roku is a site which gives you a device and a remote, and there is no subscription for Roku, right? You just pay some 99 bucks and get the device, and you connect that to your internet, and through Roku, then you can go to many channels such as YouTube or Netflix or any such channels that are available out there. So the streaming devices are what allow you to go to different services. So you buy the device, and through the device you go to the service. Similar devices available are Apple TV, and then Google Chromecast, Amazon Prime Stick, what they call Amazon Prime streaming stick. All of are good. Everyone has their own user interface. It's all up to which user face you feel is good for you. Actually, I've been using Roku for now last 3-4 years probably. I'm very happy with that. Although I like Apple TV also very, very much, and I have a Chromecast hooked up to my receiver. So the way I typically use these devices and services is I try to focus on one device and then subscribe from the devices to many services. So I have bought recently HBO Max through Roku. So right from the Roku interface, it says add this channel, say do you want to subscribe, you click and you buy, and Roku takes also care of the payment also for you. So you don't have to worry about another putting payment through that weird looking remote web interface. So all of these devices will allow you to do that. All of these devices will allow you to go to that particular service and rent also. Rent a movie or TV series that you like, or even buy forever. And I bought a couple of movies that are like, I knew that I was going to watch for next 20 years on and off. So instead of renting for $4, I just bought it for $8 or something like that, and just kept on my collection, because eventually, right, as new content comes, old content goes away. And even though digital, that content might also go completely away. So if you are fond of something very, very dear to you, just buy it from that side and keep it, so it stays with you forever. So you will never have a DVD or something like that in future. Nobody makes the DVDs, nobody sells and buys it also. But this is the way you can digitally keep the copy for yourself. What else? Oh, there will be one feature in your most of the devices, which is private listening. Please look up. Roku has a private listening feature where on the I have a Roku app here also, and I'll quickly pull up to show you how it looks. It looks like this. Like it's a Roku remote that I use, and in here, if I take a close, you'll see a headphone icon here, right? If you see the headphone icon, so when I connect my headphones to my phone and I hit that, Roku actually streams into my ear through my phone. So it's super useful because our media room is next to our bedroom, literally. Our main bedroom is at the ground floor, and next to that is a media room. And I want to see a late night movie, or Varsha wants to do the same way, and I want to sleep. I don't want to bother her. So I simply plug in my Bluetooth or these headphones to my phone, hit this button, it starts streaming everything audio to my ears, and then I have the whole projector set up. So she doesn't have to be worried about loud sound coming and losing sleep. So all devices will have private listening. Look up that feature and use it. All of the devices also will have voice prompting. So if you are not familiar, then look out for that also. Okay. What else? What are the other features that I can remember from that? Is I think that's it. Most of the streaming devices and services will have the exact same features, little less, little more, but it will be almost same. If you have any questions about, watching Marathi programs, that will be, I thought that will be a major question. So what we do is we have a subscription from Sling TV, SLING. I'll probably type here. Many of you might have it, but Sling TV is the thing that you can use to subscribe for different packages. The way we operate is we have a shared subscription between 3 families, which has hundreds of channels, all the Hindi channels, Marathi channels, all packaged up, and 3 families share that. One family takes care of payment, and towards the end of the year or something, I just pay that person my share of the subscription. So you can also do that if you want, or if you prefer to have your own subscription, by all means do that. Subscription sharing is common, and streaming companies are also aware of it. I recently read that they are trying to clamp down that effort, but I doubt how much they will be successful doing that. But while they allow you, by all means enjoy it. If any other questions other than that Marathi channel?
Yeah, Madhav has a question. How safe is Costco for saving passwords?
How safe is
Costco?
Costco? I mean Costco online?
Yeah, online.
But how is that Costco related to saving password?
Madhav, can you please unmute and ask the question?
Yeah, I would like to hear.
On Costco, you save your password for buying things from a Costco.
Oh, you mean on Costco site?
Site, yes.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Okay.
That should be fine. Again, you can choose to pay every time by freshly putting the credit card.
Okay.
Right? Unlike saving credit card to the 1Password or whatever, if you don't like it, you can choose to save it. Not save it and type it every time.
Okay, so save it on 1Pass or something like that.
Yeah. My password is my credit cards are saved on 1Password. So when I have to pay, I just simply click on that credit card text box and then go to 1Pass and say autofill. It fills up the credit card number, the expiration date, the 3-digit code, etc., etc. And I just hit OK, and it just does the job.
I was wondering if, without revealing any of your private information, whether you can, through a video, show us how this process works.
Like a credit card thing or all that?
Yeah, how the thing you do 1Pass. What
Yeah,
do you do?
Sure. Let me show you. Try to show you, as you said.
Okay.
I'll have to go to a site where I normally buy something and say, where do I go normally? Most of the sites I buy, but there is a credit card always saved there. Let me remember quickly. Best Buy. Let's say Best Buy. And I'm going to pretend to buy something small. Let's say I want to buy this.
Maybe 1 or 2 you remember, but rest you have put it in that file, USB. Yeah.
Okay.
You can put it there.
Let's address those questions after I finish this. Whoever is talking, I cannot see who is talking, but I'm just demoing quickly. I'm trying to add this. So I put it in my cart. I'm going to, of course, decline it later on, but I'll not sign in right now. It might make me. Oh, what happened? What happened to cart?
All we are saying is the LastPass side, not Best Buy side is nowhere on the screen.
प्रशांत share screen वरती बरोबर दिसत नाहीये.
दिसतीये? Okay, I will stop and again do sharing. Okay, so let's do again. Tell me if you. I'll confirm now when you. Okay, now you see it.
Yes, we see that now.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. So let's go to the cart. I probably added something more than required, but that's fine. I'll cut it out. It's a little slow. Okay, so I added twice. I'll remove this. Okay. So let's say I want to buy this and now I want to pay for it in the checkout.
Mhm.
So at this point, I have a option. Oh, sorry. I'm in incognito. I didn't close the window. Sorry, I'll have to do it again. I didn't realize that I was incognito.
Oh, so when you are incognito, you cannot do it, you're saying?
Because the plugin that I have here is gone in incognito,
I see, okay.
right?
Need to कैसे करता है मतलब
Because it's based on the plugin.
Okay.
Google contact. Yeah.
So let's do some small thing now then. All right, let's buy this.
Okay.
Add to the cart. Come on, did you put? I don't know why it's so slow or acting up. Adding, okay, added. Go to cart.
Mm.
Now here, this is what we talked. There is
Okay.
a PayPal checkout. So wherever you see this, it will be always prominent next to the checkout.
Okay.
Or where you bill. So I could use PayPal checkout also, but you wanted to see the one pass. So I'll try to, it's forcing me to sign in.
You're signing into OnePass?
No, this is probably from my browser. Browser also allows you to save.
Oh, I see, okay. How safe is save it with the browser?
It is not bad, but now you can see here, right? Either browser also can fill. This is browser saved. I want to kill that. But
Okay.
in the browser also I can do that.
Okay.
Chrome browser, which allows you to secure. But here, every time I click, it will prompt me to put the master password first, which is one password I remember.
Okay.
And again, I do that cryptic, but the one that I remember. And
Yeah.
let's see, either that. Let's say I want to do this. It says autofill, so it will autofill it like this.
Okay. All right.
Best Buy is not that friendly.
Okay.
It is not populating MMYY, but otherwise it does.
Okay.
Okay, so this is how typical I do it. It can do the same thing for me for logging websites also.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, Prashant.
Sure, and don't worry about seeing my credit card number there. I'm going to smudge it when I process the video.
Okay.
I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
So there are a few questions, Prashant.
Sure.
For,
Let's do that.
Jagdish said about retrieving photos from iCloud. So here he wants to know how to retrieve photos from iCloud. Jagdish wants to know.
You can simply go to the iCloud.com. Let's say iCloud.com. I'll share that again. Screen.
Same thing with Google.
Same thing. Let me share screen again. Let's quickly visit both. So when you go to iCloud, it will say login with Apple ID.
But the iCloud, I wasn't know. I wasn't sure how safe it is. It is very safe.
So with iCloud also, Apple gives me like two-factor login automatically by prompting me a code that I have to put here. Trust the browser. And once you log into iCloud, you can decide what you want. Either your mail, contacts, calendar, photos, right here.
Email it is already to contact. Sure that you have to pay. So it can. So I decided to run my own. to me. They wanted to escape their
So on and so forth. So these are my photos.
There.
Okay.
If I have to download,
Automatically do
we'll click and say download,
it.
Okay.
iCloud Monday.
right?
Yeah.
Similarly, somebody's talking. Can the person please mute?
Mac has, right?
Similarly, you can go photos.google.com.
It saves all the
Photos are here.
your pictures, email, contacts, characters, all kinds of stuff. No?
Right.
They-
Sangeeta
So nobody can read it.
All right, I muted that person again. Sorry about that. I had to mute you. But these are the two ways you can go to your iCloud or Google Photos. And let me quickly go back if I am not closed on Google Photos. One thing that I wanted to show on this is how it allows you to create albums. These are the just photos, bunch of photos, right? But I can, in photos, I can explore. That's why I like Google Photos better, because this allows me to search by person. It has facial recognition in it, right? It has a places recognition in it and things also. I think iCloud also has the same thing. So if I want to see photos of my friend, let's say I want to see photos of Rohit, I just click and it will find everywhere where Rohit is, because the facial recognition automatically, right? So it can do that also. Fun thing is, let's see some fun while we are at it. I just want to see trees. Boom. Wherever it finds greenery, it will prompt me that photo. Not always correct, but most of the times it is phenomenal. That if there is a tree, it will notice and it will prompt me that photo. So you can actually look by like that, an object that you know. You can look by date, like this. If you just type July, it prompted you all the 10 years of my history here. I can simply say, show me the 2014 photos of July. For whatever reason, photos are here right away. And if you go here, I think scrolling somewhere in mobile, it shows you a timeline here on the right, on the mobile. You can look by places, you can look by things like such as skylines. These are predetermined by Google, like food videos, food photos, like cooking. Google will pull out all the cooking photos that we have clicked so far that it can understand. So it's pretty powerful. I don't know whether iPhotos is that powerful, but this is amazingly powerful. You can create albums, drag your photos into your albums, right? So many albums. Suhas, do you remember this? Suhas and Alcatai. I'll not open this album, but do you remember this?
Yes. Very well.
Exactly. So that is that album. I still have it from 2004 and still intact, and I can visit anytime. So I've created something like this also. For example, we have a water filtration process. So I wanted to store it and basically make it available anytime I want. There it is. Whenever I need, I just open my phone and look for that album and I start playing the video and follow the process whenever I have to do that. You can create n number of uses. I have created something like this: citizenship, passports and licenses, photos in one album. Rohit has asked me from out of state saying, Dad, where are our citizenship photos and numbers and details? I just said, look here, and that's it. Boom. He was up and going within no time. But having said this, it is now you might realize how paramount the security is. If somebody gets access to my Google account, what happens? Right? And that's where it ties back to all the discussion that we did, saying why security is so much important, why your online presence needs to be so secured. it's not nice to have. It's a must now, right? Going online is a must. Staying online is a must. And the same line, staying secure online is a must now. You cannot ignore. You cannot say that I'm just now retired. I'm just going to lay back and have fun. No, it will still affect you. Unfortunately, that notion is gone. So you have to be aware of it. You don't have to be super savvy about it. Just be aware of it. And if you're not willing to put that much energy in it, be more paranoid about it. Actually, always consult someone saying, hey, I don't think this is right. Should I go ahead? And that person will help you. I have helped some of you countless times for last so many years. And actually, that's where the whole idea of this seminar came up, from that experiences. So similarly, you will find people who are interested to help you. I'll be always here. So reach out to me for all such questions. Alkatai, I wanted to ask quickly to this audience as a representative of all three sessions. Not all people will be there in all three sessions, but I'll consider that if I start a small newsletter or a small, like a video kind of a newsletter, where I create 5 or 10 minutes video for one feature, just one feature, how to do XYZ kind of thing. Will folks be interested in subscribing to that YouTube channel to stay abreast?
I think so. Because they've been asking for this your lecture series and
Right.
YouTube. So I'm
Right.
sure because they will be benefited by this.
I had a feeling that way because of the solid presence that we have seen for all three sessions.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to ask at the last session that whether it will be a good idea, people will be willing to do that or not.
And
we
also,
do need a
Prashant, it's impossible for you to cover all the topics in these
All-
sessions, right? So
Correct.
if you make clip videos, though,
Correct.
that is good because then you
Correct.
can cover.
Correct. I cannot cover all the things all the time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
If I keep creating like a bite-sized content,
Yes.
Correct.
and just keep sending the newsletter, it will be like 5-10 minutes of a bite. Then you can quickly see, watch, and maybe read.
Yeah,
Either
it will
way.
be beneficial, definitely. So.
And once I create such a stack of information, that will be always there for you to go back and look.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You read something, you watch something
Right.
today, 2 months down the line, say, what was that thing Prashant showed
Correct.
about mobile phone? Let's go to his YouTube channel, look up and say, oh, this is the video. Okay, let's learn it again, refresh ourselves again.
Yeah, we need that refresher course constantly.
External. And because I do the same. I follow some channels for information. And when I need, I go back to that channel saying, what were you showing me that other day? And I refresh myself quickly for 10 minutes and I solve my problem.
Yeah, because you're getting
And-
positive feedback already. People want
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So let's do that. I'll start working on it after June.
After
Yeah. Because I have to
Yes.
first attend that things to do of wedding.
yeah.
Right. So I think we covered a lot in this 1.5 hour. I again sincerely thank you, all of you. Sincerely thank MV Club 55 for wholeheartedly agreeing to the idea and help me to succeed here, to help you.
Thank you, Prashant.
Thank
We
you.
really did benefit.
you,
All of
Prashant.
us
Yeah.
agree with us on that we benefited. And, hope we will be joining the video clips, and hope to see you again in
Absolutely.
fall.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
everyone have a good summer. And Prashant, congratulations to Rohit on his wedding.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Prashant.
Okay, bye. Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you all.